Getting ready to go. Looking at events. What is best? Live, hybrid, online, bit of both. Who knows? Stay tuned. You'll find out what I think. Counting down, getting close, only a minute to go. We're going to kick it off. Feel free to share it around, tag people you think might be interested in finding out more about events. What is the best? What's the pros and cons of each? Love to have you join us. Throw a few comments then. We have Philippe Bouchard with us already. Woo-hoo, very exciting. Not long to go, less than a minute. Alrighty, get ready to count it down. Oh, what's happening? And welcome to the Get Events Online live stream every Thursday, 11 a.m. Melbourne time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for your company, for those of you who have joined me here today. Today is all about events. What's the best format? We're talking about live, we're talking about hybrid, we're talking about online. What's best? That's the question people want to know. Now that we're starting to meet again, what's best? But more importantly, let's talk about who am I? Who am I to be talking about this sort of stuff? My name is Warwick Merry. I'm triple certified, double as a virtual presenter and also as a certified speaking professional. But that's not what's important. What's important is all about events. And so I've been producing a lot of different events around the place, all over the world actually. I've hosted events all over Australia, New Zealand, Oceania. I even got to sneak off to Dubai once, which was a bit of fun, and Abu Dhabi. But the question is coming with events. We've been hit very hard with COVID, because who would have thought hanging out with your friends is actually very, very dangerous. So what do we do? What have we done? Well, we've created a whole lot of different events and different formalities and different structures in ways that can be of benefit to multiple different people. So what I wanted to do is today talk about each modality, some of the pros and cons as we are moving towards a post-COVID world. I'd love to get your perspective as well. If you know someone who's interested in events and you think might get value out of this, I'd love it if you would share this with them, tag them, maybe have a watch party, whatever's going to work for you. That'll be great. All right, so let's start with live events. And I've got to tell you, most people I know love live events. I'm a big fan of them. I love them. This is one that I hosted. It was a fantastic gala dinner. It was loads of fun. And there's something about being live, being together that is superb. Here's the thing. In a post-COVID world, at the moment, I think in Australia, most states, you can't have more than 50 people. I think some might have up to 100. But even if you get together, you have to, I think it's like 4 square meters per person. So what that means is if you want to have, let's say, 200 people in a room, then you're going to have a room big enough to hold, let's say, 800 people. You're going to have to sit at least every second, if not third seat, maybe every second row. So think of that. When you have an event, half of the energy, the power, the joy of it is all the people, all milling together, all sitting to each other, turning to each other, having a bit of a laugh. That was very funny. Oh, they're a great speaker. I love them. But if you've got everyone so spread out, all wearing masks, all muffling their laughter and their excitement, you can't see their face, what do you think the energy in the room is going to be like? It's going to be quite different. I know smaller events, they've had fewer people at open rounds or conference tables spread right out. Again, they're getting the education, but the energy and the joy and the benefit of being live isn't quite there. Add to that the extra expense. Now, look, I'm sure for a while you're going to get some great rates at venues because they are desperate for business, let's be honest. And I know that the Australian government has just come out with a whole lot of funding to help get some of these events kicked off. So there are definitely going to be some bargains to be had, but you really are going to have to manage the risk. At the moment, the insurance companies are not covering for corona if there is an outbreak. So there's a bit of risk mitigation you're going to need to have. So there will always be room for live events. One of the things that live events that online and hybrid just has not been able to do is provide value for sponsors. There's something about being live and walking up and down the exhibition floor and connecting with sponsors, having these random conversations that you can do live because you're sort of filling in lunchtime, so you might as well have a chat to the person anyway. Whereas online, you've got to specifically want to go there and have that whole kind of conversation. And it's very intense. You're not just having a casual chat. You're having a, what are you here for, purposeful. So what I found so far is we're making more attempts to provide value for sponsors in online and mixed events, but it's just not quite there yet. But don't get me wrong, live events are here to stay. I love them, they're fantastic, but I think we're really going to shift. I think the days of having thousands of people in a tight room, they're way into the future. So we have to fill it. We have to fill that gap with something. So one of the popular things that's starting to take place, and I know professional conference organisers have planned this, is a hybrid event. Because the other thing with live events is they're expensive. They're expensive not only for you to organise the event, but if you're a delegate, it's also expensive because you've got to get your airfare in, you've got to get parking, taxis to the airport, accommodation, meals, time away from work, the value cost of your time actually being at the event. You're spending time away from family and friends and your social life as well. So the costs are high to get there. But you can have great events in fantastic locations so you can help celebrate and enjoy a beverage or seven with your friends and that kind of stuff. So there is some really cool things about live events. So then what we've tried to do is say, okay, what if we do a bit of hybrid? So we might have a few smaller things. And as I was saying, the Professional Conference Organisation Association of Australia, their conference coming up is hybrid. So what they're doing is they've moved the location to be in Sydney. So the majority of their conference will be hosted and held out of Sydney. And they are going to have some satellite centres where they'll have other smaller groups coming together. Plus, you can also get online, which is a great idea because it means you get the best of both worlds. You get the digital broadcast, so it means that anyone from anywhere can sort of, as long as they've got a good internet connection and power, they can plug in. So there's some great stuff going on there. The challenge with it is, and from my experience, you're actually having two events. You're having the online event, and then you're having the physical event. So you have to consider the two different audiences that you've got. So what that means is, wherever you have a presence, you need a host. So if in the online area, you'll need an MC to host the online experience. So when they're off on their lunch breaks, the online host can interview people, have a conversation with sponsors, provide some extra value, maybe have some speakers that are only available online. Because let's face it, when you're online, you only need 5 or 10 minutes to duck off and have a break. But when you're coming back, and Philippe has just raised a good point, you've got to have a good internet connection. So for the online stuff, and here in Australia, our NBN is interesting at best, shall we say. So yeah, internet connection makes such a huge difference. But you must have a host in all platforms. So they're going to have a host in Sydney for this is PCOA. They're having a host in Sydney. But I'm not sure if they're having a host online. But my thought would be you want a host online. Then, if you've got different arenas, you also need a host there because you're going to have whatever's being broadcast. I'm assuming they're shipping into that particular venue. You might have your own trade show at that particular venue, but you're going to want something that's specific to that venue. Otherwise, why would I go? So there's got to be something that attracts me there that's just specific for that. There has to be something that's really going to make me want to be there, be present, be part of it, be interact. Yes, there'll be people, but what else is there that's just specifically for there? Are there particular geographically based conversations that are going to be happening? Are there one-on-one conversations that can happen? And if you're doing that, you'll at the very least need another organiser on the ground to make sure everything's running smoothly, but you will be needing someone to coordinate everything that's going on. So it's going to add a level of complexity there that often you can't just say, okay, we'll have a live event and we'll throw some cameras on it and just broadcast it. Because the people on the broadcast, you don't want them to be a second-class citizen. And whoever is speaking, I guarantee you, won't have the skill set to be able to engage everyone in the room and also engage the people via the camera. Because they're two different audiences and it's a really hard thing to do. So be aware of that. But hybrid is brilliant in that you can get that great geographic spread. You can record all this kind of stuff. It means that you'll kind of keep some of your costs down, but you'll also have extra revenue streams because you can record this stuff and then sell it later as a product. So hybrid, I believe there is a real place for hybrid, and I think as we're coming out of Corona, hybrid's going to be very, very popular. But I make no secret that I'm a huge fan of online events. Now, the reason I love online events is they're intimate. I find online is far more intimate than face-to-face or hybrid. And the reason for it is it's you and me. Like, we're talking together. Even if there's, let's say there's 1,000 people watching this. I wish. But if they were, it's I'm talking to them directly. Now, they can put some comments in the chat box, so I've been talking to Philippe and I know a few other people are watching as well. So I can have that conversation with them. I can take their input and include it in my presentation. Because what I've found is when I'm talking to a whole lot of delegates that go to different events, what they want is an event that's not done to them, but done with them. The younger generation have grown up with their phones in their hands and participating in the conversation that's going on. Why wouldn't we create that event? Why wouldn't we have it so that it is a delegate-focused event so we can really get them involved? Because often they've got far more expertise and far more questions than what we have as the organisers and some of the speakers. Don't get me wrong, the speakers are experts and they've got some really good observations and opinions. But when it comes to industry knowledge, you will not beat the delegates in the room because they've faced everything. Even some of the newbies who are coming on board, they won't have the "this is how things are done around here" perspective. So they're going to have some really great value to add as well. Thanks, Kevin, for that comment. Appreciate that. So my thing is, I'm a huge fan of online events, and we've taken that genie out of the bottle. We've been able to, in a very short period of time, create these really high value expense for a very low cost and being able to engage people from all over the planet. All you need is a good internet connection and good power. And look, I've got to tell you, you don't even need complicated equipment. A simple mobile phone will do so much in terms of engaging for some of the different events and some of the different online things that you can do. But you don't get the physical experience. And the live events are great because there's something about really connecting with someone, sitting down, having a conversation over a meal or a beverage, and being able to just talk rubbish. But it creates a stronger connection. There are some great things you can do online using things like Zoom and Remo and other products out there to create some connection and create some of the digital connection. So there are advancements happening that I'm really excited about and love, but it's very effective and easy to get online. So I would suggest to you, if you're looking at what's best, it depends. And it always depends, because the thing that you really got to be clear about is, what am I trying to achieve? What is the success? How will I measure the success of this event? And only by understanding at the very beginning how you're going to measure that success will you know what format's really going to suit you best. If you're wanting small, intimate collections of your organisation, then maybe small face-to-face, maybe some kind of hybrid where you're linking different offices, maybe something like that. If you want a larger spread geographic, online can be good. What I would suggest to you, I've seen too many people try and say, well, this is what we used to do offline. How do we do it online? I would take a different tact and say, okay, what can this particular program do? And what are we trying to achieve? And how do we get the most out of this program? Because sometimes there are different things that you can do online that you've never done offline, but it'll help you get the results that you're after. So it is about success. I always talk about the 3 R's, ROI, ROO, and ROE. So you're looking at what's my return on investment? And investment's not just money, it's going to be time, which flows into the next one, I suppose. But return on investment in terms of, what am I getting out of this? What are my sponsors getting out of this? What are my delegates getting out of this? What's my association, my organisation? What are we getting out of that? So that's ROI. ROE is return on energy. Anyone out there who's had anything to do with the event knows that events take so much energy, so much effort. So you want to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck out of it. There's plenty of other things you could be doing. So what's going to give you a really good ROE? And then also ROO, what's my return on objectives? And again, this comes into, how do I measure success? What is success to me when it comes to this event? How am I going to measure it? And so what do I have to do up front to make sure that that works? So that's why it depends on what the best one is. Personally, I find online events easiest. It's a very easy world to step into. There's plenty of people out there like myself who are happy to produce an event for you or do the technical side or do whatever you need to do. You can start small, go larger. And then you can look at, okay, well, how do we add a physical element to it? And I've been involved in some events where what we've done is we've sent bottles of champagne or lunch packs or whatever. So there's a physicality that's happening at their end of the event as well. So you can get that physical experience digitally as well. So look, that were just some observations I wanted to make. What I'm really interested in, from your perspective, what have you seen that's worked really well? What have you seen from a hybrid event or an online event that works really well? What's the key thing about live events that you really miss and want to get back to? What's one event that you've done live that you think will never be able to go digitally? Now, take into account that some of the big firms like Apple and Microsoft have said we're having no face-to-face events until at the very least the middle of next year. International travel's pretty much shot from an Australian point of view until 2022. Like, it's just not going to happen. So any of the big events where lots of people used to come in aren't going to happen in a physical sense. So we are looking at hybrids. One of my clients, we're doing a big hybrid event for a lot of European delegates. So there are ways to do things, but I'm really interested in your experience. What's worked well? What really struggles? What's one thing with online you think, I really can't do ... Because I reckon there's going to be some solutions for it. And if we share some of the problems and share some of the solutions, you never know what we'll come up with. All right, my name is Warwick Merry. If you need any help with some of the stuff that you've been doing or you want to take your online events up a level, get in touch. Here's my website, warwickmerry.com. Who would have thunk? I'm here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Time. So that's Melbourne time for those of you who are in the know. And we talk about a different thing about online events or events in general every time. So I'd love to have your company again. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to your company next time.